What's going on, winners? It's your boy Loso 2.0. And today I have Michael Clark with me. Can you please do the favor introducing yourself and a little bit about your business?
Sure. Hey, Liz, thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate it. My name is Michael Clark. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Infoscale, a backup and disaster recovery software company. I also do fractional CMO work on the side for B2B tech companies.
Okay, cool. So I am tech. So how did you kind of get started in, tech?
Well, I was a nerd back before it was cool. So computers saved my education. My parents got a PC for me, or very fortunate to be able to do so, but it was one of the first IBM PC models out there. It had two of the big floppy hard drives on it and everything else. But I liked to write. I was a terrible speller and my handwriting was worse. And they said, use this, and it changed my entire education. But my father also got me into then, all right, well, let's upgrade the computer and install more RAM on the motherboard. And so the more I got into it, And technology was always just a passion of mine.
That's good, man. That's all I'm about, man. Just people doing the thing that they love to do, staying with it and just growing with it. Now, you said it changed your education. Do you feel like that technology did that for a lot of people today as well?
I see it differently now as a parent, but yes, no, I think that it is a great tool. I think it can be abused if you're not careful. I think there's a lot of cool things happening with AI. I think it is important that, I use AI a bit professionally and I use it with my customers, but it isn't the finished product. It's the starting point. It's a great way to train younger marketers. Well, I'll sit there and say, great, here is an AI generated set of social media posts on our latest blog. How do we make this better? And use that as an education point. I think it can be a distraction as well as the biggest problem that I see with it. These algorithms that have us looking at our phone are designed to do that. I have a 12-year-old who is, powerless against the algorithm if we're not careful, and he should be, because people have invested billions of dollars to make him that way. So, as a parent, I struggle with how to maximize the positives and minimize the negatives.
Yeah. Okay. No, that is true though. The thing I do like that you said was a great tool of use. I mean, I don't know if you're a big Marvel fan. Yeah, I'm a huge Marvel fan, man, and I just can't stop thinking about Spider-Man when he said, "With great power comes great responsibility." So when it comes to technology, is that what you're saying? Like, it could be used for like terrible things, or it could be used to advance us in other ways. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of making sure it is still your work. You can use this as a starting point. You can use this as an inspiration. You can use this to condense down material. I have said, here's a white paper. How would you do a short blog post on this? How would you do a tweet storm on this? Whatever it might be. But you're not done when it spits out the results. You got to break it back apart. You have to apply your own knowledge and your own ability, or discuss it with the team, as a learning opportunity, and say, I see a problem with this tweet that an AI is not going to know, but we should. Let's figure it out together from here.
Oh, okay, so like I see what you're saying. So it kind of makes almost like the organization there for you, and then you kind of put in that emotion that AI lacks in when
right.
it's created.
Or the specific knowledge that I bring with my experience, or my team brings with their experience, or again, that teaching moment. If I've got junior people working with me, I'm like, we need to make this better. Now let's define what better is. What's our goal? What are we trying to do with this? And then how do we build that back in? I mean, it always starts with, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and who are you trying to solve? Who is your, from a marketing perspective, who are you trying to sell to, and what is the problem you're trying to solve? When you're an entrepreneur starting a business, you need to understand, this is what I'm offering. This is why someone would want to buy it. And this is who that someone is. And then marketing to me is the art of selling not one to one, but one to many. How do I get that message out to a number of people to set up the sales conversation of a one-to-one down the road.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's what started getting me into studying like a few years ago, copywriting and stuff like that. Using that ability to just put emotion on paper and sell through paper. So I know exactly what you mean with that. Now you talk about some of the cool things AI can do. What are some of those things that you were able to use AI for in your business?
I use AI as a starting point or as a way to condense complex subjects. So I use the example of a white paper. Let's say I have a 10-page technical white paper on a product. I
Mm-hmm.
will put that into the AI and say, create a blog post on this. But the most important thing when you're working with ChatGPT, which I still like a little bit better than Bard myself, the prompts are important. So you have to, if you're going to do this, spend a little time doing some research, take a class, because using the prompts effectively gives you effective output. Using the prompts ineffectively gives you ineffective output. It's a waste of time for everybody, including the AI. So I like this approach. Create an email for this white paper promotion that targets chief technology officers of managed services providers. Specific detail in the US of this size. And then you can start saying, here is an example of a successful email that I've used in the past. This is what a successful email looks like. Create me something like this from this content for this audience. And then you can change that and say, make it more, playful, make it more dry, make it super technical. So I like the ability for it to work through variations that way, but you have to craft the prompts properly. I see a lot of people that just don't put the time into it and say, give me an email for this. And there is a more effective way to do it if you put your time into it.
Okay, so it definitely is something that can cut back time from people, just in making it a lot more easier for them, or I should say not easier, but maybe simplified a little bit more for like people that are trying to do their marketing.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot of time savings. I just would always take a close read of the final product. You should be an expert in your field, and the AI is not. The AI is an expert of saying these words are normally followed by the words like this or this. You need to make sure it is using words properly, and using, especially if you're in a technical space. But even if you're not, the language you use matters. You do writing, you understand what I mean. But if I'm selling a product to hospitals, I talk about maybe its impact on patient outcomes, not increased effect. You need to craft the words to resonate with your audience, and the AI can do a bit of that. But if you then come in and see yourself as doing the final detail work on it, reading through it, tweaking it as need be, again, you're gonna be more successful. But it gets you to the point where if your prompt is good and you have some content to relate to, you're spending your time tweaking. You're not spending your time writing from a blank page.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. I do know exactly what you're saying. That's cool. So, dang, you seem to know a lot about AI and obviously copyright and marketing. You've been around that for a while. What kind of introduced you into, I guess, the marketing side of things? Or who?
I was earlier in my career given an opportunity by a good friend of mine to come in and do some sales and marketing work for him in an organization that he actually ended up leaving my first day. It was a confusing first day for me. But he brought me with him a year later to his new company. Put me in a straight marketing role, which is my first time solely having that title. And I really liked it. What I liked about it were a couple different things. I saw myself as helping the entire company. This was not me maximizing my personal revenue, which isn't a bad thing. But I have learned that I am someone who likes to help people. And I found that if I do this job well, I'm helping everybody. Which in turn helps me, of course. And I liked the variable challenges. There's almost always a different type of task for me to turn to and refresh myself with, whether that's writing, whether that's reviewing graphic design, whether that's doing strategy work, whether that's setting up an event plan, whether that's just doing, I do a lot of sales enablement with our sales teams. So each of these is a different challenge that lets me use a different part of my brain and recreate, my energy levels, and come at it. I love the different hats that you get to wear in the role.
Yeah, no, I agree. I believe the marketing part is almost like the most important part of the company because that's what brings the, revenue in, to then pay for the other things like the operational side and all this stuff.
So there's a very old movie, I think it's called Drumline, and it's about a marching band in the South, and all the groups are meeting, and the individuals, and every one of them is like, the brass is the most important part of the band, the drums are the most important part of the band. I think it's sort of like that. This has to work together. And I'm a big believer in building bridges and going outside just what I need to make sure everybody else has what they need, because we're in this together. And sales and marketing need to be natural partners, not adversaries. Sales and operations, marketing and operations, all these people, products in a tech company, all these people work together to be successful. And I think marketing is a little different because it's a hub that touches everyone in a way that sales might not. But I hesitate to say that it's the most important or more important than the others.
Yeah, I got you. Just being modest. Like, I'm playing with you. No, that's all good though. That's good. So with you doing this, so when you first started with marketing and, the tech company, what was your support system like from your family? Like once you started to get more into that entrepreneur realm. So I know a lot of times with entrepreneurs, it can get real lonely. You know what I mean? A lot of times you got to deal with stuff on your own. What's your environment like?
So if I switch over to the entrepreneur side of things, when I started building the fractional practice, that was during the pandemic, and it was a response to the pandemic. But I saw it as an opportunity because there are companies that needed the advice and the skills that I had, but didn't necessarily want to bring in a full-time individual to do it. So I started offering this for people that saying your company either needs to improve its marketing adjacent to the team that's in place, or you're trying to maybe rebuild or change the team, but you're not yet ready for a CMO. So it turned into working with a whole bunch of different types of companies. From a support perspective, my wife was very supportive, but my network was more supportive. And as an entrepreneur, I would never sleep on the power of your network. The conversations you have with people are important, whether they're a one-off or not. They lead to opportunities, and at the same time, you need to be working the other side of that. Again, how can I'm famous for the phrase "How can I help?" Going back to that first marketing job, it was sort of when I'd answer the phone, "Hey, this is Michael. How can I help?" And so when you're networking with people, this is a two-way street. Who do you know that can help them? What advice might you have for them? Whether or not there's money on the table in this conversation, make the connection, because those connections are golden as you start to move forward from that. But I'd be, remiss not to mention the support that I had from my family. And while I lost my dad a year ago, he was a great mentor and guide to me in the early stages of this process, as he's been for my entire life. So I appreciate being able to work through challenges with his advice.
Yeah, sorry for your loss. But no, that definitely sounds similar to when I've interviewed other entrepreneurs on here. They always said that the network is probably the most important part. And I actually know a coach that I used to have before. He would say that it's not who you know, but who knows you. Because it's like we all know Michael Jordan, we all know Kobe Bryant, but if Kobe Bryant knew me, it would be a different conversation.
That's a great way of phrasing it. And then I think, though, again, try to find something you can do for that person, because that's what makes you memorable. When you help people solve their problem, they're going to be more willing to help you solve your problem when you need it down the road.
That's really good. So strong support system from network, your wife, your family, that's all good. Start the entrepreneur journey. With the entrepreneur journey and doing all the stuff in tech and marketing, I know that could take a lot of your time up. So how do you find a good work-life harmony?
I think that harmony is important. I wouldn't stint on the hard work for it. For myself, I have been generally a very fast worker, whether, especially when it comes to writing. We've talked about this. I used to say I can write myself out of anything. But with a lot of these, when I work fractionally, I work with multiple clients on a part-time basis, and that may range from 3 hours to 10 hours a week.
Mhm.
I set some of that up purposely and through some luck following time zones. I had a client in Europe that I worked with in the morning, a client on the East Coast, and a client on the West Coast. So my day followed the sun as to who I was working with at any given time. You need organizational skills, but at the same time, when you're doing that, if I have 3 clients and they're all 10 hours a week, I have 10 more hours in the week for organization, background work, running the business side of things that I'm doing, filling my own pipeline, doing my own marketing, doing my own finances before I'm at 40 hours. And in my experience, most salary positions aren't 40-hour jobs. So I'm willing to go above and beyond that. I am a believer that you need to be respectful of your employees' time. But I think some of them have, a salaried position or a variable comp that is based on what are we building together. And when that happens, people tend to be willing to look beyond 40 hours because they see that upside. It depends on the company, of course. And I've heard you say in some other interviews, and other people say, your loyalty to the company is not the same as the company's loyalty towards you.
Mhm.
But again, remember, we're also dealing with people. So your
Mhm.
loyalty to people can very well be rewarded as you help them solve a problem that goes into your relationship going forward. I worked for, I think, 4 companies between 2004 and 2017 without
Mhm.
any. People just called and were like, hey, you need to come and do this job over here. And essentially, here's the offer, because they knew what I was capable of and we had worked well together. So I'm not suggesting sacrifice harmony, because that recovery period and the other parts of your life are just as important. But I would suggest, especially when you are younger, you're making an impression on the people that you work with. And you may not be making an impression on the organization that doesn't exist, but you're
Mhm.
definitely making an impression on the people around you.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree. I've seen that before where people that I interviewed as well will talk about the idea of like when they were younger, before like it's starting off, they put a lot more work, a lot more hours into it. So then now later on in life they can kind of coast a little bit better. And just not really like cool, but they could kind of like they built up something and they're scaling. You want to work, it said, on your company, not in your company forever.
Yeah, there's a line I wish I heard earlier, and I don't know how to cite it properly. So whoever the originator, please forgive me, but it was something like, if you don't get busy building your own dream, someone will hire you to build theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of that prior to this journey I started on with my own business, but I also don't know that that's a bad thing. Not everyone is set up to say, I am going to create a company and everything else. There are a lot of great side hustles you can do, and you can think about that way, but building a company is a different skill set.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It takes a different type of, winner, as I say, to want to actually do that.
Yeah, I guess I would say it took me a long time to figure out myself, not so much my strengths and weaknesses. I always used to say I can work with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've proven that in my career. What I may look at differently from this end of it is I don't know that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I work best in certain circumstances. And I really struggled to define my leadership style until the phrase servant leader became a thing. And I was like, that's how I see this. It is my job to make my team successful, to make the organization successful. And that's worked out well for me. And I'd be very confused and surprised if it didn't. But,
Mm-hmm.
it isn't for me about putting myself first. It's about putting the people around me first. So I work hard with the people that report to me to find out what it is they're trying to get to. What are they building in their career? How can I help them? What advice can I give them?
Mm-hmm.
I've done mentoring with the American Marketing Association for the last few years, and tried to help people again understand challenges. And sometimes, I've heard you say, sometimes it's politics. Here's a way to deal with the circumstance and the situation. But I've been in organizations where it's much more, I'll say, the old style alpha leadership, and it doesn't work as well for me. I can adapt to it, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
who I am. So I'd encourage anyone to find their own authentic style. And you can look to improve it, you can look to shape it and enhance it, but I don't know it's easy to completely change it.
There's some good stuff. That's some good stuff there. So as an entrepreneur and working in marketing, I'm sure you read books before. And Russell Brunson is one of my favorite marketers today. He talks about the idea that if you show me your library, I can show you what type of person you are. So what's your favorite book, and what's the biggest lesson you learned from it?
So I will say I really struggle a lot with business books. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I have found a hack that works for me, which is for most of them, I read the introduction, I read the conclusion, and I decide if I want to put more time in this. And
Mm-hmm.
even then, my next step is really I will read like the first and last page of a chapter and decide again, am I going to continue to invest? Because I feel like at that point I have the core lesson of the book
Yeah.
and want to go further from that. And I read fast, but that's generally my approach to business or self-help books. There are a couple that really stand out to me. The book that I think has stood the test of time as just one of the best books out there is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic for a reason, and don't sleep on the old stuff. For the latest and newest thing. Another one that I'll talk about that's older as well is I think it was by Harvard Business Review, and it's I think it's The Secrets of High Performing Teams. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and in organizations, I've worked in organizations of all sizes, and I've worked with teams of all sizes, but I think that it's important you get to eventually this idea of a cross-functional team with voices in different areas, which is required to solve complicated problems. And whenever I've seen the best results in my career, it's by bringing in these different voices, these different points of view, these different experiences. And by that, I mean not just skill diversity, but lifestyle diversity. We all bring something different to the table, and it all has valuable to the problem at hand. Once you get that team focused on what is the problem we're trying to solve. So I think that those teams are extremely capable and extremely valuable, and I recommend that those of you that are in more of a corporate setting seek it out, and those of you that are in an entrepreneurial setting create your own informal entrepreneur panel of guys, people, not just guys, of course, that you sit down with and say, great, so I'm a marketer, you're a finance guy, you're a CEO, you're a sales guy, let's talk about the things that we're all facing that each of us have a different perspective on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, what you're also really doing there is building a heck of a tight-knit network that is going to be looking out for each other as well.
No, No, I definitely agree. Definitely agree. And then that way, it's almost like it's like a mastermind, really, right? Because you all have different perspectives, and you all have different things that you guys can help each other with too. You know, what I mean, more two minds, or really, you just said like four or five are better than one. Put that together.
I mean, it may start with one, but the more you have up to as long as you can control the conversation still, I think you can go up to 5 easily and maybe even 10 easily, or you have different groups that you meet with that bring different perspectives together. But these are then people that you build a strong relationship with. They're your go-to people for other people you network with. What I really need is, someone in legal. I know someone that might be able to help you with that. Let me make that connection. You're helping 2 people out. You're solving problems for 2 people, both of whom are going to be like, hey, next time someone says to me, I just can't seem to get marketing right for my tech company, I'm going to say, you need to call Michael. He's going to fix this for you in no time.
Yeah. Now, yep. Now I know somebody that you need help with tech company marketing. Look, I got Michael right here, Michael Clark. No, that's definitely some good stuff, man. Thank you for sharing all of your journey, all of these tips. These are really good things, especially as far as AI. I never had anyone on here really talk about AI and tech and how to use it in marketing. If you had to leave the audience with one last piece of advice, what would you leave them with?
My favorite rule for marketing teams that my teams get sick of me saying all the time is do not confuse activity with results. And I think it's important in areas that are more than just marketing. You may be very busy, and that's great. What is the impact of what you're doing for yourself, for your business, for your customer? And then when you, on the flip side, are looking for a job and look at your resume, write your resume to show the impact and show the results, not just a list of things that you did.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So if someone was in a tech company and was looking for some assistance with marketing, how could they reach out to you?
My website is metricsmarketer.com, and I'm on LinkedIn under Mike Clark.
Okay. Got to follow you on LinkedIn too. No, definitely. So really that's everything, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule with between clients and everything you got going on to hop on this podcast and leave some gems for the next, generation of entrepreneurs.
I love to do it, and you made it fun and easy. So I appreciate your quality interviewing skills, making this a great experience. Thank you very much.
No problem, Michael. Thank you. And if anyone listening to this, go to metricsmarketers.com. I'm going to leave the link in the bio as well. And you'll be able to reach out to Michael Clark. Follow him on LinkedIn, on Lineable. Lineable is a really good app too as well. Something I've been using. So, yep, just go over there and connect with him. Other than that, you guys know the rest, man. Keep killing the day. Winners win, losers lose. You guys pray for success like this. I'll see you guys.